Well, hello there. We're looking at some study guide questions. Let's see. In plant life cycles, micro always indicates what, and mega always indicates what? Let's see. Which one is which here? Yeah. Micro is the prefix indicating male, and mega, which we'll use next time, soon, is the prefix meaning female. All right. And then in the animal kingdom, meiosis produces blank. In the plant kingdom, meiosis produces blank. Meiosis in the animal kingdoms produces what? This is a review of the previous little unit. Meiosis produces what? Gametes. And in the plant kingdom, meiosis produces what? Spores. Yeah. And so, why is a spore called a spore instead of a gamete? Well, here's a very bad answer that gets a big psh, psh. Yeah, I'm not going to get you any credit at all. Here's what some students, a few, not too many, but a few tell me this. What's the difference between a gamete and a spore? Gametes are produced by the animal kingdom. Spores are produced by the plant kingdom. What's wrong with that answer? Gametes are produced by the animal kingdom, but are gametes also produced by the plant kingdom? Well, there's some sperm cells right there. Those are gametes. That's not the difference. That's not the difference. It's how they reproduce. They're both reproductive cells, right? They're both single cells, one little cell, one haploid nucleus. Let me represent that right here. They're both a single cell with a haploid nucleus. Well, what's different? What's different is what comes next. How do gametes reproduce? By what? Fertilization. How do spores reproduce? By mitosis. Yes. Gametes reproduce how? By fertilization. Spores reproduce how? By mitosis. That's the difference. They're both single cells. They both have one haploid nucleus. The difference is in how they reproduce. So, one more time. Gametes reproduce by what? Fertilization. Spores reproduce by what? Mitosis. Yes, indeed. Ooh. How many cells are in a mature flowering plant pollen grain? Well, here's a diagram of a mature flowering plant pollen grain. Why do I throw flowering plant in there? Well, conifers like pine trees, they also make pollen, and the answer would be different. They're not flowering plants. We're just talking about flowering plant pollen grains. And so, how many cells do we see in this picture? I call on students when I have a class in front of me, of course, and I don't always get the right answer. Sometimes they tell me, what, 2? And I'd say, wow, you are just real close. What is the actual answer? How many cells do we see in this picture? I think there are how many? I think this many. There is what? The 2 sperm cells, but there's also the vegetative cell. And so, 1 vegetative cell, 2 sperm cells, 3 cells in a mature flowering plant pollen grain. What is unusual about the relationship of the sperm cells to the vegetative cell compared to other cells in plants and animals? What's unusual about the relationship of these sperm cells to the vegetative cell? Where are they? They're totally inside it. 2 little cells inside a big cell. 2 little cells inside a big cell. Very unusual. I don't know any other place that occurs. I really do not. Finally, some chromosome questions. And I like you to keep track of chromosome number. And in this case, we have before meiosis and after meiosis. Before meiosis and after. Before meiosis, the cells are what? 2N. After meiosis, they're N. And so, what do we have here? Anther tissue. Well, that doesn't divide by mitosis. It just sits there. And what did we say anther tissue was? 2N. What about those microsporocytes? The first things to form inside the pollen sacs. They're also 2N. But then meiosis takes place. And we have microspores, we have a generative cell, we have vegetative cell, and sperm cells. And you say, well, there's also some mitosis in there. Well, what does mitosis do to chromosome number? Doesn't change it, right? And so, once you get your microspores, and what are microspores? like all spores are what? N. Whether they're microspores, megaspores, or sporospores, all spores are N. And you can have all the mitosis you want, you're still going to have N. So everything starting with microspores is N. What's the only way you can get back up to 2N? The only way you can get back there is have fertilization. There's no fertilization yet. We're not there. We hadn't got Ms. Ovule ready for this the meeting with Mr. Pollen Tube yet, and so we will do that soon. But that concludes our study our study of the pollen story. Okay, that's it.